knew I would be forgotten in there. They said I would be nothing more than a lost whisper between concrete walls, a body that would slowly fade until becoming a number. It wasn't just the sentence of a regime. It was the sentence of the body itself. When they took away my ring, my watch, the wallet with a crumpled photo of my wife, I felt they weren't just collecting objects. They were tearing away the layers of my history. They took me through long corridors, sick yellow light, doors that closed like hammers. The cell was smaller than a storage room, a cold slab to lie on, a hole in the corner, a lamp that never slept. There I began repeating psalms in silence, like someone groping for a rope in the dark to avoid falling. I, who outside was a humble translator of ancient manuscripts, now translated the language of pain, syllable by syllable, with cracked mouth and roaring stomach. The routine of hunger. The first day seemed like a cruel joke of time. They appeared at the door gap only to remind me that water could come today and disappear tomorrow, that a sip wasn't mercy, it was method. The body tried to negotiate. First it burned what fat remained, then began pulling strength from muscle like a house that sells its own furniture to pay for electricity. Getting up from the slab caused dizziness, the walls danced. The clothes, too loose, transformed me into shadow. I touched my ribs like someone counting rosary beads, and each bone responded with a dry crack. The mind, accustomed to ordering phrases and notes, discovered that emptiness has a voice. Invented smells took over, bread coming from the oven, stew with mint, honeyed dates. I woke up with saliva and shame because nothing existed beyond the rough concrete and cold lamp. The engineering of despair. A soft-spoken interrogator came a few times. He didn't shout, didn't hit. He called it mechanism, said systems reject disturbances, that whoever resists becomes friction and the organism resolves friction by itself. It was evil's elegance. It didn't need shocks, just wait for biology to complete the task. And biology obeyed. Acute pain became deep tiredness like wet sand inside the bones. My ankles began to swell. Urine darkened, tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. I knew without needing diagnosis that internal filters were failing. Prayer, which before flowed like river, became stone in chest. Why are you silent, I thought, and the question echoed, dry. Solitude gained false faces. My wife in the door crack, hand extended. My mother singing softly. I answered, and the next moment the vision shattered like fine glass. Absolute zero. Then came the greater silence. That which is not absence of sound is absence of meaning. I stopped arguing with emptiness and just curled up, knees to chest, trying to keep a bit of warmth inside sharp ribs. Time unlearned to count. I no longer walked, only listened to steps in the corridor and iron of bolts. Thirst, queen of tortures, transformed my mouth into a desert of dust. I thought of rivers, rains, sweaty glasses. I thought many die like this, simple, anonymous, extinguished before sunset. I accepted. I gave it a name, End. I closed my eyes to receive darkness like someone accepting a heavy blanket. And exactly when the last match of spirit went out, there was something that didn't come from outside, didn't come from the lamp, didn't come from the corridor. It was inside, small, discreet, impossible, a point of warmth, an ember at the bottom of the soul, lighting without permission from the manual. The beginning of the inexplicable. It wasn't fever. Fever confuses. This warmth organized. It rose slowly up the back, opened space in chest, released the breathing lock. Air, before heavy, entered whole as if the room had gained invisible windows. The throbbing in the flank diminished. The trembling of hands calmed. I sat up, then stood. The floor didn't spin. The body remained thin as thread, but from somewhere came strength that didn't fit the map. No music came, no brightness came, no voice from ceiling came. Certainty came, the same certainty that makes a bird take flight on cold morning. I touched my own bony arms like someone checking a miracle with expert fingers. There, between concrete, lamp, and rust, something greater than hunger sustained me. I breathed again, slowly, and realized fear had lost the key to my internal door. Prison remained outside. Inside here, something had been unlocked. I remained standing, breathing that rough air as if it were mountain breeze, and waited. The metal scrape of the slot sounded and a hand entered with hard bread, but stopped mid-gesture, as if it had touched an invisible high-voltage wire. The guard saw me erect, serene, eyes firm, and recoiled with a start. The bread fell, the cover slammed, and steps left crooked down the corridor. I didn't move. There was a silent motor lit inside me, a power plant that didn't drink water or calories, and that kept the mind clear as freshly washed glass. I touched my ankles. The swelling had disappeared. I opened and closed my fingers without tremor. The body remained a thread of shadow, but life vibrated solid, and that certainty, which didn't depend on proof, began pushing fear outward, as light pushes night without asking permission from windows. It wasn't long before the external machinery creaked. When the bolt slid again, who appeared was the man of elegant speech. He didn't enter. He inspected me with ruler and compass eyes, calculating variables that didn't match. The polished mask let show tension at the corner of mouth. He said there were pressures, vague words that served any paper, but that, inside, didn't touch the root of astonishment. He approached one step, breathed the air as if seeking the smell of a lie. I said nothing. There was no thesis to defend. The argument breathed. His voice then lost its swagger and confessed without the verb admit, "You shouldn't be standing." The silence that followed was a mirror where he saw, for a second, his own limit. And it became clear the system knew all protocols, except that of a prisoner who saw the impossible and remained whole inside. From there, the wing changed temperature. The guard's coarse chatter withered near my door. Footsteps became light, like crossing a sanctuary. Bread came accompanied by a thin bowl, and one afternoon an extra glass of water slipped inside like an unsigned gift. The doctor in tired coat made a quick visit. He placed cold metal on my chest, frowned, recounted heartbeats, evaluated skin where before remained the deep finger mark. He said, "Impossible low," not to me, but to the very handwriting of science he carried in his pocket. And he left without looking me in the eyes. I returned to walking the cell's 3 steps, not as beast in cage, but as someone revisiting conquered territory. The body, still lean as charcoal line, obeyed docilely. Hunger, queen of prison, no longer gave orders. I was being sustained by a table that didn't fit in the courtyard. If you've come this far with me, breathe deeply and be part of this crossing. Subscribe now, not as someone pressing just any button, but as someone lighting a candle in a dark room so others find the door. Leave in the comments your life's mark. Tell of a moment when a greater force sustained you when nothing else could. Or simply write "Light 1" so this phrase echoes where fear hides. And if this account touched something that seemed extinguished, share with someone who needs breath today. What we're building isn't an audience, it's a rescue network. Each story of yours is a step for the next person still fallen. The sound of the bolt echoed once more, but now it wasn't threat. It was harbinger of change. A new guard appeared, older, with tired eyes and slow gestures. He pushed a tray with bread, thin broth, and a small piece of fruit, and before closing the slot, did something that dismantled me inside. He lowered his head quickly, like someone reverencing the inexplicable. It wasn't respect for me, it was fear of what I carried. That gesture, simple and almost imperceptible, was recognition that something had broken that place's rules. I looked at the fruit like looking at a materialized miracle, not from hunger, but from the message. That gesture said, "There's something here not even prison can contain." And inside me grew the conviction the miracle wasn't just about living, it was about transforming fear into testimony. Days followed and steps in the corridor became cautious, almost ceremonious. The air changed. Where before there was heavy smell of dirt and despair, now hovered silent calm, involuntary reverence. Even the doctor, who returned by obligation, examined me with trembling hands. The stethoscope slipped from his neck and he repeated to himself, "This is impossible, impossible." I remained motionless, not to defy, but because I understood. That man, for the first time, stood before something neither science nor regime explained. And it was in that instant I understood. The miracle wasn't just survival, it was contagion. The faith sustaining me began to spread, infiltrating cracks in those walls, in frightened eyes of jailers, in doubts of those who watched me. The interrogator returned. He entered without the same pride, without the same gleam in eyes. There was new shadow on his face, mixture of fear and curiosity. He placed on the slab a clean blanket, the first fabric without stains I'd seen in weeks. He stood before me like facing an unsolvable enigma. "You're free," he finally said, voice faltering. He alleged diplomatic reasons, external pressure. But I knew, he knew, that blanket was surrender. It was symbol that the system didn't know what to do with someone human power couldn't erase. He turned slowly, hesitated for a second, and murmured almost soundlessly, "You were dead, and now you're alive." There was no more irony in his speech, only the collapse of someone who saw the impossible and has nowhere left to support his logic. The door remained ajar. I took my first step outside and noticed the silence. A respectful silence, heavy, almost sacred. Other guards lowered their gaze, pretending to be busy. None dared touch me. I was no longer just a freed prisoner. I was living reminder that there exists a force that doesn't bow before bars or orders. Outside sun hit me like blade of light, cutting and hot. It was the same sun as every day, but now it burned with purpose. I breathed deeply and felt air vibrate with returning life. I was no longer the man who entered there. I was another, molded in the furnace of the impossible. If this story lit something in you, something that perhaps was extinguished, tell. Write in comments what God already did when everything seemed finished. Say where he pulled you from, what he restored, what kept you standing when nothing else sustained. No need for beautiful phrases, just truth. And if you're still in the fight, write, "I keep believing," because your faith, even small, is already a seed of miracle. And if you're not yet part of this faith community, subscribe. Here, we pray together every night, share deliverance stories, and remind each other that light always wins. How about walking with us? With each step outside prison, I felt the thin body's weight sustained by something invisible, as if a firm hand guided me. The world seemed the same. Street noise, smell of dust, mixed voices. But I wasn't the same man who had entered through those iron doors. It was as if my eyes had learned a new language, capable of seeing beauty where before there was despair. Sunburned, and that good pain on skin reminded me I was still alive. I walked for a while without destination, just feeling ground under my feet. Each step was prayer and each breath silent confession. The life taken from me was being returned in fragments, and each fragment was revelation. God hadn't just freed me from prison. He had taught me to see miracle within pain itself. I didn't go straight home. I needed to understand what had happened to me. I sat on park bench, under shade of dry tree that insisted on flowering. People passed hurriedly, trapped in their own worlds, and I watched like someone seeing a theater they once also starred in. I remembered last meal with my wife, her laughter between one cup and another, and realized how small moments are, in truth, life's true altars. There alone I realized time in cell hadn't been loss, but polishing. That desert of hunger and silence had removed from me everything superfluous and left only the essential: faith, purpose, and compassion. And when I finally decided to rise, I understood the miracle wasn't just having survived, it was being able to love life again, without fearing it. I arrived at my house door trembling. The body, still weak, reacted as if carrying weight of all memories. I touched the wood and waited. On the other side, footsteps. A light, known sound that made heart race. The lock turned, and through a crack I saw her eyes. The same eyes that taught me what remaining means. For an instant she didn't recognize me. Time and suffering had redrawn my face, but 1 second was enough. Her gaze changed and tears came before words. When embrace happened, it was as if two pieces of same soul fit back together. We stayed there, between floor and crying without needing to say anything. Pain had been defeated, and love, which never let itself be imprisoned, freed us again. In following days, routine seemed like dream. I ate slowly, each spoonful a sacred act. Water, before enemy, had become symbol of life. At night she woke to see if I still breathed, and I smiled in darkness. We didn't talk about horror. We let silence heal what words couldn't reach. But inside me, something burned. Growing certainty my suffering hadn't been in vain. There was mission now, not to preach with speeches, but to witness with truth. I began writing with trembling hands, each detail of hunger, fear, miracle. I rewrote not as someone seeking memory, but as someone engraving in stone proof God still acts. Each line was prayer and at same time, call. Someone, somewhere, needed to hear this to continue living. My wife read first draft in silence. Tears stained paper, and when she finished said only, "People need to hear this." I understood. The message wasn't just mine. It was from all who believe God still does miracles. And thus was born this channel's purpose, a space where each story is altar and each testimony is spark reigniting faith. If this story reached you, tell yours too. Write in comments what God already transformed in your life, or what you still hope He transforms. Here, nobody walks alone. And if you're not yet part, join us. Subscribe, participate in prayers, share this message with someone who needs to remember hope doesn't die. Faith is food that never lacks at the table of those who believe. In weeks that came, I realized miracle hadn't ended in cell. It had just changed address. Sometimes during dawn, I woke and felt again that same warm presence that raised me from death. It was silent, deep energy that didn't come from body but from spirit. I rose, walked through dark house and sat at table. Distant sound of sleeping city reminded me life continued. And I there, witness to something no book would explain. I began writing more, with almost divine urgency. Words came like torrent, and each seemed to pulse with its own life. I understood it was no longer about me. It was about entire people needing to remember God still acts, even in places where no one dares pronounce His name. One night, I received a visit from old professional colleague. He looked at me astonished, like facing living legend. He asked how I still breathed. I told only that when body failed, God took command. He fell silent, not knowing what to say, and it was in that instant I realized miracles aren't made to be understood, but to be seen. Sometimes faith doesn't convince by logic, it convinces by presence. And in that moment, I realized my survival's purpose. I was no longer just free man, I was living proof light defeats any darkness. I became walking message, reminder that even desert flowers when God breathes upon it. As days passed, I returned to discreetly helping persecuted families, bringing words, prayers, and food. Each visit was mirror of my own past. I saw in their eyes same fear that once imprisoned me, and in each hand touch felt power of God who restores. People asked me to tell story again, and I told, not with pride but with gratitude, because telling was reliving moment I discovered I wasn't alone. Each tear I saw was seed of faith being watered. Each sigh was new chance of miracle. I understood testimony is more than memory. It's bridge between heaven and who still walks in darkness. My wife, with time, began accompanying me. We prayed together, many times without words, just holding hands. And while she slept, I looked at her and thought how many times I almost lost her. God hadn't just returned my life, He'd returned love, peace, and purpose. He'd given back chance to restart. And each dawn was silent reminder that whoever touches bottom of well and survives is never the same again. He who returns from death doesn't return seeking comfort, returns seeking mission. It was then I understood. True miracle wasn't having left prison alive. It was having left transformed. And it's this transformation I want you to carry with you now. Perhaps you're not behind visible bars, but inside invisible cell. Illness, fear, loss, discouragement. And like me, perhaps you think God is silent. But listen well, He was never quiet. He only waits for instant when everything seems lost to show He still has control. My story is just reminder that impossible is territory where God works. So, if this message touched you, share this video with someone who needs to remember this. Write here in comments what you learned today, and if you want, tell your miracle, however small it seems. And if you're not yet part of this family, subscribe. Every night at 11 p.m. we pray together, strengthening hearts and reigniting faith. The light that lifted me in that cell can also light within you. Time passed, but echo of that miracle still resonates in me like song that never ends. Sometimes I close eyes and still feel warmth rising through body, same gentle fire that made me return to life. Today when I speak, it's not just with voice, it's with soul of someone who saw invisible act. I discovered God doesn't need stage lights or crowds to manifest. He reveals himself in silence, in hours when hope seems to have died. And that's why every time I tell my story, I feel I'm not just remembering past, I'm reigniting present. There are people in different places who, hearing this testimony, find same breath that lifted me. There's no distance for power that comes from above. It crosses walls, crosses screens, crosses hearts. Returning to life taught me something no book teaches. Miracle never comes to exalt us, but to break us with purpose. I was man of theories, and God made me living proof. Pain that destroyed me was same that made me instrument. Today I understand suffering, when delivered into right hands, becomes seed. And what sprouts from it is something time doesn't erase. Therefore, when someone asks how I survived, I answer, I died, and it was God who raised me. This phrase isn't poetry, it's spiritual anatomy. Body failed, system collapsed, but his breath rewrote the end. And this is what I want you to carry in heart. When everything collapses, don't fear. Floor of despair is place where grace raises its strongest foundations. Today, each sunset is reminder there's still purpose in each beat of my heart. I walk slowly, speak less, listen more. I don't need to prove anything. Miracle already spoke for me, and that's why this channel exists. So stories like mine aren't lost. So wounded people remember faith still heals, God still acts, and impossible still happens. Here, each testimony is beacon lighting someone's darkness, and each shared prayer is invisible thread uniting hearts through hope's power. If this story touched you, write in comments what it taught you. Say where God pulled you from, what he restored, or simply write, I keep believing. Your words can be food for another person's faith. And if you're not yet part of this community, subscribe. Here, every night at 11 p.m., we send powerful prayers, faith messages, and words that strengthen heart. We're family that prays, believes, and witnesses together. Share this video with someone who needs to remember God still does miracles. And wherever you are now, close eyes for instant and say silently, Lord, my body may fail, but your power never fails. This is truth that sustained me, and will be same that sustains you. If this story touched you and reignited something within your heart, don't let this moment pass. Subscribe now to Voz de Fe Milagros channel and come walk with us in faith. Here, each video is more than story. It's encounter with hope, living reminder God still acts.